And we are live on YouTube, and I will start us up.
Matt, could you open the chat, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. If you're just joining, this is the Renters Alliance Renter Town Hall. We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Welcome. If you're just joining us, this is the Renters Alliance Renter Town Hall. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes. Give it one more minute, and then we'll get going. Okay, well, let's get started. Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Losack. I'm the co-founder, executive director of the Montgomery County Renters Alliance. Tonight, we're going to discuss the Community Schools Renter Resource Program with our special guest, Carmen Castro Conroy from the Housing Initiative Partnership. But before we get started with Carmen, our good friend and ally and partner, I'll introduce our staff. It's Jackie Machinia, a senior outreach coordinator. We've got Tim Wong, one of our outreach coordinators, Wah Ho, who is with the Governor's Service Year program with us, Pat Beckham, one of our outreach coordinators, and Josh Fisher, our treasurer, who likes to keep an eye on the money, make sure we're doing the right thing. And Emily Towie, an outreach coordinator with us, who is going to be moderating tonight. But first, I wanted to give some little updates on the housing forum that took place last night in downtown Silver Spring at Silver Branch Brewery. It was a very important forum that was moderated by Senator Will Smith. Will Smith is the chair of the Judicial Proceedings Committee in Annapolis in the Maryland General Assembly, and that committee is responsible for housing legislation in the Senate. On his panel at this forum was Tom Cole, a landlord developer lobbyist, Secretary Jake Day, the Secretary of the Office of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, and Matt Hill, a housing attorney with the Public Justice Center. Public Justice Center and the Renters Alliance are the leading co-founders of Renters United Maryland. And Matt Hill is a very eloquent and knowledgeable attorney when it comes to tenant and landlord affairs. So the discussion covered a lot of ground about affordable housing. What is affordable housing? What do we need to do in order to create affordable housing? For those of you who have been tracking this discussion, the Renters Alliance has always been concerned of what the landlord developer lobby pushes, which is this idea that all we really need to do is to build more housing and not create renter protections. And it's always been our position that they are not mutually exclusive and that building more housing is not a substitute for renter protections. And so that issue came up last night, and all three panelists, including Senator Smith, agreed that that was something that was not mutually exclusive, that building more housing was good, and so are renter protections. But that's as far as the agreement went. The real issue at stake is good cause eviction protection. That is the number one priority of the Renters Alliance. It's the number one priority of Renters United Maryland. And most all of the responsible advocates in the state of Maryland and most of the major municipalities in the state of Maryland. Good cause eviction protection requires a landlord to renew a lease each year unless they have good cause not to. Right now, with just 60 days toward the end of a lease, a landlord can issue a notice to vacate and not provide any reason why. And they don't have to prove why or demonstrate why in court. If you stay one day longer than the lease term, you're tenant holding over. And in that circumstance, the only thing the landlord has to show the judge if you end up going to court is that they gave you 60 days notice. Without the good cause protection, it allows an unscrupulous landlord to hide any number of illegal activities, including racial discrimination, religious discrimination, retaliation for seeking promised or required services, forming tenants associations, or any other inappropriate justification for evicting somebody. But how would we know if they don't have to state a justifiable reason? So we are insisting that in order to protect nearly 40% of the state of Maryland who live in rental housing, not as a station on the way to owning, but as a permanent way of being housed, that they need this basic protection, a protection that exists in Washington, D.C., in California, in New York, in Washington State, and other parts of the country, New Jersey, that have long-standing renter protection infrastructure in their laws. But these regions also are in the strong, robust development when it comes to new housing. The landlord lobby says that if you regulate us, nobody's going to want to build here, and the data shows otherwise. Matt Hill, to his credit, pointed that out strongly, saying the data shows that there's really negligible impact on the desire of investors to put money into new housing because of that regulation. Yet the landlord lobby insists that it's the sky's going to fall and they won't invest and they'll all leave town and probably move to Moscow. That's just not going to happen. So we raised that issue. The landlord lobbyist, Tom Cole, who was there, kept raising the issue that why do we need legislation if it's only going to cover a few bad actors? Well, and I said, maybe overstated, but I said, why should we make murder illegal if only a handful of people do it? So that got some laughter, but it was a point. We have laws to protect us from the handful of people who break the laws. Unfortunately, we've seen more than just a handful of landlords who abuse tenants and pursue tenant holding over evictions because there is no good cause protection. Over the last few years, we've seen a 100% increase in tenant holding over evictions. And so it is a real loophole in the eviction process. And with the housing crisis increasing, especially for tenants, we don't want to see anybody who is evicted without a good reason. The legislation that is pending is what's called local enabling legislation, because good cause eviction protection is part of eviction law. That's a state law. And so it requires the state legislature to either enact it or to allow local municipalities, local jurisdictions to enact it. This bill is simply local enabling. So if it were to pass, and it passed the House of Delegates in 2023, 96-37. So that tells you something about how widespread support is for this legislation. But it got to JPR, Judicial Proceedings, whose chair is Will Smith, and it didn't get a vote and was blocked. And we think mostly because of the landlord-developer influence on those elected officials. So we're really urging people to get behind it and to reach out to their senators. But if it were to pass, it would simply allow local jurisdictions to enact it if they so choose and in any form that they choose. So it really does have widespread support. It is of deep concern to us. And that's what happened last night. And we are now expecting the elected officials to know that we know what's true and what's not based on the data. And we're going to hold them to account. And I hope that Will Smith, the senator that we've known for a long time from District 20 in Silver Spring, knows what's right and will have the strength and courage to lead on this issue, no matter what the opposition might be from this multi-billion-dollar industry that does not want to be regulated. So with that, let me also say that we're going to be at the Thanksgiving Day Parade on Saturday, if it's not raining too hard. And so we hope you will see us and cheer our work. And if you have children, we'll be tossing out candy for all of you. So with that, let me turn to Emily Towie, our outreach coordinator, who's going to be moderating tonight's town hall. Emily?
Thanks, Matt. Gonna hand it over to our special guest, Carmen Castro Conroy, from the Housing Initiative Partnership, to talk to us about the Community Schools Rental Assistance Program. And Carmen has a presentation for us. We ask that everyone puts questions into the chat, and we'll get to them after the presentation.
Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Matt, for the invitation to talk about the Community Schools Rental Assistance Program. Before I do that, I would like to tell you a little bit of who we are as an organization. Housing Initiative Partnership, it's a nonprofit housing developer and housing counseling agency serving primarily Montgomery County residents and Prince George County residents. So we are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency with staff in offices in here in Montgomery County at the App County Regional Service Center in Germantown and also in Hyattsville. Our services are free to all tenants and homeowners age 18 and older. We serve everyone regardless of income guidelines or any other criteria. So through our rental counseling program, we provide resources and connect households with available rental assistance. We also have a tenant outreach in court person, and we collaborate a lot with the staff from Renters Alliance, and we're very happy that we have worked together in a few initiatives with the county and the state. So with that, I would like to talk about this new program through the state of Maryland, and I'm going to share my screen. So I'm taking you to our website with Housing Initiative Partnership. You can find us at hiphomes.org. And on our website, you're going to find information about this new program through the state of Maryland. It's called Community Schools Rental Assistance Program. So the state launched this program in the month of October in 8 jurisdictions: Anne Arundel, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Frederick, Montgomery, Prince George, Washington, and Wycomico. So HIP is the agency processing applications, receiving and reviewing applications for rental assistance from 2 counties. So as you can see here, we have the list of schools that are participating in this program from Montgomery County and Prince George County, so you can see if your household may be eligible. So I'll explain how the program works. This program is funded by the state of Maryland Department of Housing Community Development Homelessness Solutions Program in collaboration with the Maryland State Department of Education and the Governor's Office for Children. So the program is designed to help families that have children attending a community school. That's one of the criteria. Not all public schools have the designation of a community school. So to make that easier on our families, we came out with a list. So there are like 78 schools currently participating from Montgomery County. So if a family has a child enrolled in one of the participating schools, thus meeting one of the criteria. So we have listed the names of the schools for both Montgomery County and Prince George County. There are more schools that are participating in Prince George County. It's about 150, so it's like double the number of participating schools in Montgomery County. So again, like the name of the program, Community Schools Rental Assistance Program, is also known as CSRAP, is for households that have a child currently attending one of the community schools. For us, would be either Montgomery County Community Schools or Prince George County Community Schools. But in addition to having a child enrolled in one of the schools, this program can help families with overdue rent or utility bills. So if a family is current with the rent, this is not a program for them. So we're looking at applications from families who are behind on rent or on their utility payments. It can also help families who need to transition from either eviction or homelessness into permanent housing. So that could be through relocation assistance. So our role is to work with the staff from the schools in getting those applications from the parents and reviewing the applications for approval for funding. So as you can see here, I went over the eligibility. The household has to be renting, so this is not for homeowners. We had a few requests for mortgage assistance, like the name, this is rental assistance program, not mortgage assistance. So they have to be renting or actively seeking to lease a new rental unit. We have also received requests from families who are staying in hotels. We are not able to pay for hotel bills. But they have to be experiencing some kind of housing instability, such as facing eviction, utility disconnection, homelessness, or be behind in paying the rent or utilities. So it's a simple process. In order to apply, we want to make sure that first you check our list, whether your child attends a community school, either in our case, again, in Montgomery County or PG County. Then we also want you to look at the document checklist to start collecting the paperwork that will be requested with the application. I can check here to show everyone what's going to be requested. We're going to request verification of a school enrollment form for the child attending the community school, lease agreement, or alternative documentation of like rent payments, client authorization form, household income documentation attached to the application. And it can be last year of taxes or last 30 days of income. If the family receives any benefits, we need proof of benefits as well. If the family has received eviction notice, utility disconnection, or any other supporting documentation, it will have to be attached to the application. Now, payments, if approved, will be sent directly to the landlord or the utility company. So from the landlord, we're going to request rental ledger, landlord certification form, ACH form so that we can send the payments directly electronically, and a W-9 tax form. So this is our document checklist. So after reviewing the document checklist, I would encourage everyone to go on our list of school contacts. So for Montgomery County, for instance, you're going to have the names of all the schools participating and the community school program staff that has been identified and trained to assist the parents in submitting an application. So applications can be submitted electronically, and the supporting documentation will be uploaded into our system. So you can find the list with the names of all the schools and the contact name for the staff that will be available to help the parent and their email address. So you can see this is our Montgomery County list with contacts. And we also have the Prince George County Community School contact list. And I told you at the beginning that the list is much larger for Prince George County. There are double number of community schools in Prince George County. It's listed alphabetically. Now, I do have to say that this program has limited funds. We're still taking applications from Montgomery County households. Unfortunately, for Prince George County, we may have to place applications on a waiting list because the number of applications received since we opened just a month ago on October 22nd. Today is going to be 4 weeks since we opened, has been overwhelming. Now, this program is, like I said at the beginning, very generous. It can cover up to 12 months of rent and up to 12 months of rent arrears or utility arrears. And it can actually cover both utility arrears and rent arrears. As long as we get the application and the supporting documentation, we'll be able to start working and reviewing, processing, and notifying the families. Payments will go directly to landlords or utility companies on behalf of the families, and we'll be notifying everyone involved, the school staff, the family, landlords, everyone involved. So for Montgomery County families, we're still taking applications, but we're also getting close to the max amount that we have been given by the state to spend with families in both counties. I'm hearing from other jurisdictions that they have met their targets or very close to meeting their targets as well. So again, this is a very generous program thanks to the state of Maryland Department of Housing, Community Development, the State Department of Education, and the Governor's Office for Children. And we're seeing the need is great. We're already hearing from families who have children attending one of the schools, also families who may not have children attending schools. And it just happened to be at a very difficult time for lots of families struggling with paying their rent or keeping their jobs. But I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding this program or anything I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. It's really helpful and, glad to see that there is even though it might be short-lived, that there is a program that exists like this, couldn't have come at a better time. Thank you for sharing all that. And I put the link in the chat as well as the list of schools, so you all can check out to see if your child's school is on the list. Don't see any questions yet. Putting out the call for the audience. If you have a question, please put it in the chat now, so Carmen can answer them. Or staff, do we have any questions?
There is a question from Chris who asked, what might a success story look like?
Sure. So we have been hearing from families who struggle with job loss or any other type of financial crisis and were out of work for a couple of months, 2-3 months, and the rental assistance available to them has been very limited, in some counties non-existent. We know Montgomery County, for instance, has to turn down families because the amount that accumulates in 2 or 3 months of not paying rent could exceed the max. With this program, we see that families can get their rent arrears covered and not have to worry about getting into debt or borrowing money or doing other things, and just pay the rent on time once their situation's resolved. So a lot of the cases that we're seeing have to do with job losses, there are other situations, health related, also immigration, federal jobs, like lots of different things. But it's making a bigger impact because of the amount that's available to help each family.
Yeah, definitely great that it can go up to the 12 months, compared to the normal county limit. I had another question, which I think I can answer. Can you apply if your child isn't in grade school? Looks like the lists are just for elementary, middle, and high school, correct? No,
Yes.
so this isn't going to include a college student or a grad
Um,
student, unfortunately. Any other questions to the audience? This is the time to ask.
Carmen,
And then
what if the child were in a trade school?
if unfortunately, if the school is not listed as a participating community school, there's not much we can do. We have had even situations where parents are telling us we do homeschool. That's another group of households that may not be able to benefit from this program either. So one of the criteria was very clear that the child has to be currently enrolled in a participating school.
And that answers another question that came in about child in private school. Same thing. It's going to have to be a school on that community schools list in PG or in Montgomery County, and that list is in the chat.
Yes,
Um,
that's for us. So there are other jurisdictions participating because this is a state program, but HIP is reviewing applications from Montgomery County and Prince George County.
right. Okay, another question. Great program. Thank you for sharing. How does a school become designated as a community school?
There are a number of factors. What I know has to do with like the participation of households in like free and reduced meals. So it has to be related to the level of poverty from families in specific schools.
Okay. And clarifying question, so only a family with a child in grade school can apply. Yes, that's correct. A grade school that is on the community schools list. It's not just any grade school in Montgomery County, Prince George's. It has to be a grade school on the community school list.
Yeah.
Carmen, if someone has a question, they can reach out to the you have a special email, this CS-RAP email, is that correct?
Yes. We created the CS-RAP email. It's csrap@hiphomes.org. And we also have a phone number that we're answering calls Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at 301-245-3907.
And you
And
said not
I'm sorry, I can share this information in the chat. 301-245-3907.
and I can put the email in there.
Emily, if I could just also throw in, because he could not make it tonight, our board member, Delegate Vaughn Stewart, was the lead sponsor for this program. And this came up in his thinking and our thinking was ways in which the state could support some of our most vulnerable residents. And so he was able to put forward this legislation to create this program. I believe, Carmen, it was overall state funding of about $10 million that was divided up amongst the counties. And HIP was able to get a piece of that for Prince George's and Montgomery County. But it's a pilot program, as far as I understand it. This is sort of to see how it works. It's a way of channeling some state money into the most vulnerable communities because the community schools work with some of the lowest income, most vulnerable renters in the state. So that's what's behind this. But I do want to give a shout out to our board member, Delegate Vaughn Stewart, for getting this going.
Thank you, Matt. I agree. This is like my first time working on a state rental assistance program, and it's making a big difference for the families that this program is able to help.
I'm putting put the email and the phone number in the chat. I also wanted to point out on the website, which I also linked to, there's a helpful frequently asked questions section at the bottom. So if folks have questions coming up about the turnaround time, who's eligible, the kind of assistance. If you forgot something that was mentioned tonight, the FAQ section is very helpful. Any other questions that we have? And I'll just say I recommend if you're watching and you have a child in one of these schools to apply sooner rather than later, because you don't know how long the funds are going to last. So please apply. This is a great program that's not going to be around for a long time. So let's take advantage of it. Well, not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much, Carmen. I guess you did a great job explaining. There's no questions. So thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Carmen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carmen, you're welcome to stick around. We're going to move into some of our resources, but thank you as always for being our partner and our friend and coming on and talking with us. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay. Matt, did you have anything or should we move on to some of our resources? Okay. All right. So we have to change things up a little bit, go over some of our resources, county resources. We have the Office of Landlord and Tenant Affairs, we have Code Enforcement, we have the Office of Rent Stabilization, and we have the Office of Consumer Protection. And we're just going to go through those one by one and tell you when you call which agency and how you go about working with them, what they can help you with, what they can't help you with. Jackie, could you start us off with landlord tenant, please?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie. I'm the Senior Outreach Coordinator for the Renters Alliance. First, I'm going to talk to you about the Office of Landlord Tenant Affairs. That is the office that is charged with informing the public of the general rights and responsibilities of both tenants and landlords and helping resolve disputes amicably. It is their goal to provide as much information as possible. Some of the information that ALTA provides includes the Landlord Tenant Handbook. They just published the most updated version, October 1st, which I'll put in the chat momentarily. They also provide ordinary wear and tear booklet, information regarding the eviction process, including eviction rights for those that rent rooms and sample leases and sample notices of termination as well. In addition to providing information, they also help mediate disputes between landlords and tenants. So a tenant organization or a landlord who believes there has been a violation of landlord-tenant law is free to file a formal complaint with the Office of Landlord-Tenant Affairs. They will then investigate the complaint and provide mediation. However, before you file that complaint, they do ask that you try to work with the property manager first before you file the complaint with them. If for some reason they're unable to mediate it, then they can escalate it to the commission, which is the Commission of Landlord-Tenant Affairs, and you can have a hearing to go over your case at that point. To reach the Office of Landlord-Tenant Affairs, you can just call 311 or 240-777-0311. And just give me a second, and we'll give you some information here. This is just the general website for ALTA. If I can just go into the Office of Rent Stabilization. Okay. The second office I'm going to talk about is the Office of Rent Stabilization. So generally, unless otherwise exempt, all county licensed residential units that are at least 23 years old are rent stabilized under Montgomery County law. A unit is 23 years old on January 1st of the 23rd year after the property's year built. For example, if your SDAT record shows that 2002 was the year built, it becomes rent stabilized January 1st, 2025. The current CPIU is 2.7%, and the maximum rent increase allowed for regulated units is 5.7%. And those rates are in effect from July 1st, 2025 until June 30th, 2026 of next year. Now, the Office of Rent Stabilization is responsible for implementing and enforcing all aspects of rent stabilization law and regulations. This includes ensuring compliance with rent increase policies for rent stabilized properties, overseeing landlord reporting requirements, managing exemption applications and requests for increases, including annual limits, resolving compliance-related issues, and providing educational outreach to tenants and landlords regarding rent stabilization laws and regulations. If you have any questions about rent stabilization, or if you believe that your increase should be at the 5.7 and it's not, you can always, again, start by calling 311 and they'll direct you to the Office of Rent Stabilization. If you have any questions about any of I said, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I also put in the chat the website for the Office of Rent Stabilization and a link to where you can check to see if your property is rent stabilized or not. Okay. Not seeing any questions. Wah, could you tell us about the partner to Landlord-Tenant Affairs? Could you tell us about code enforcement, please? And I'll put the links in the chat.
Yeah, sure. So the Office of Code Enforcement, they handle maintenance and structural violations. So for instance, if your unit has issues such as pest infestation, you don't have heat or air conditioning, there's excessive mold, the pipes are leaking, you can call 311 or submit a complaint online anonymously. Most uncorrected violations are subjected to a $500 fine if they aren't corrected within a reasonable amount of time once you report it to code enforcement. But however, we always recommend that you do work with your management team and have it in writing, just so that you can use it as, that you did go to management before you went to code enforcement. And then even if, code enforcement hasn't, rectified these issues yet, you can also reach out to Renters Alliance so that we could help you accelerate your case and get you the right people on it. But also it's using your best judgment, such as, it's winter. If you don't have hot water or there's no heat, those are called like urgent violations right there, and they should be corrected within 24 to 48 hours. And then just a quick note that if you do live in the cities of Gaithersburg and Rockville, they have their own code enforcement. However, Tacoma Park has a contract with the county, so it'll fall under the Montgomery County code enforcement.
Thank you, Juan. Good reminder that, yeah, if you're in City of Gaithersburg or City of Rockville, they have their own landlord-tenant office and they have their own code enforcement office. Oh,
But
and
we should
like,
also throw in that they are not stabilized under Montgomery County's rent stabilization.
yeah,
law.
And I just
Jackie,
added that
Neither
in.
is Tacoma Park, because it has its own rent stabilization program, which, by the way, is being considered for dismantling. So we're a little concerned about that.
right. So those three municipalities have their own offices for landlord-tenant code and not subject to the county's rent stabilization program. Just wanted to add a quick note about what Waz said about code enforcement. You can file an anonymous complaint. However, if you have an issue that's like in your apartment that you want to be rectified, you will need to put your information so that they can contact you. Like if you have roaches and you want them to come do a treatment, you will need to give your address, your number, your identifying information in order for them to like call you and meet with you to set that up. However, if you wanted to file a complaint, say about the common area, or like a main door that's not locking, something like that, where you don't feel comfortable putting your name down, that would be okay. But if you want services in your apartment, you will have to provide your information. And a note on both, all three of those agencies, you can always, like Waz said, you can always contact the Renters Alliance if you're not sure which agency your complaint should go to or if it's complaint worthy. Um, there's supposed to be like a no wrong door approach at the county. So even if you call code, but really it was a ledger issue, you should still end up in the right place. But we can always help you get there if you don't. And then I want to turn it over to Tim to talk to us about a different office, Office of Consumer Protection.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Emily. So, a recent bill that came into effect this year allowed the Office of Consumer Protection to investigate and resolve consumer complaints, licensing issues with your landlord. So if renters are facing challenges with unfair or deceptive trade practices by corporate or private landlords, like if your amenities are not as advertised, if there are junk fees, predatory towing, chronic housing violations, the Office of Consumer Protection might be able to help you. So, if you want to file a complaint, you can call 311 and they'll refer you to the same, or they'll refer you to the right office. And you'll be contacted, and an investigator will, look into your case and see what the resolution will be, if there is one. And just for example, if let's say when you moved in, there was on the website advertising a gym or a pool or some other amenity that isn't offered, you can argue that you moved in and agreed to pay that rent that you're paying because of these amenities that they advertise. Just like how any other business, if a business advertises something, they need to follow up on it. So this bill applies it to landlords as well. So those are some of the cases that would apply. If you aren't sure of which office complaint should go to, we're happy to help you troubleshoot it. But also, if you call 311, the county is supposed to have a no wrong door policy. So feel free to call 311, and we'll also link the website to Office of Consumer Protection in the chat there, Emily did. And yeah, so reach out to them and they'll redirect you to the right place.
Thank you, Tim. So I heard about our county resources, but let's talk about what your options are when you don't want to go through the county or they're not able to help you. Two things, tenants associations and legal aid. So for legal aid, the state has a statewide program called the Access to Counsel and Evictions Program. You'll hear us call it the ACE program. This is for low-income tenants who are facing eviction, meaning that they have a court date and not just that they're behind on rent, but that they are facing eviction and being taken to court. There are free attorneys who can represent you. However, they are pro bono attorneys, so if they're not able to represent you, they could still give you free advice on your case. They can represent you in failure to pay rent, in breach of lease cases, and tenant holding over cases when you stay past your lease date. However, they cannot help with affirmative cases, meaning like you want to file a rent escrow, or you want to sue your landlord. They can't help you with that. They might still be able to give you some advice or put you in contact with a different attorney, but it's not going to fall under the pro bono ACE program. So Tim put the information. So to contact an ACE attorney, you can call 211, or you can also call one of the local providers directly. The first one being Maryland Legal Aid, and the second one being CASA. They they recommend that you get in touch with them as soon as possible. We always tell people to show up to their court dates, even if you didn't pay and there's no dispute about that, you should still always show up to court, because it's possible that you can get a continuance and avoid getting a judgment on your record, give you another week or another 30 days to make your payment. So call 211 or call legal aid or CASA as soon as possible to get in touch. The second you get a court summons is when I would recommend calling them. Don't wait until a day before the court date, because like I said, they're pro bono, they're limited, might not be able to represent you. And if you have any questions or need help getting connected with them, just let us know. The other resource is forming tenants associations. Tenants associations are a great way within your community to try to make changes happen without, having to file a formal complaint or going through the county. Tenant associations are a group of tenants coming together, and they have a range between fun activities like building community and having holiday parties. But it's mostly about being a collective voice and having a central place for all your resources. A lot of times tenants feel like they're the only ones who are dealing with abusive management, or the only ones who have broken appliances. And a tenants association can help you realize there are other people experiencing the same issues and you're not alone, and then also find out what to do about that. We love helping sub tenant associations. We think there should be a tenant association in every building in the county. So if you want to be part of one or you want to start one and you don't know how, please reach out to us. Send us an email, give us a call. We can help. Oh, and Jackie just put in a really helpful document on how to form a tenants association. But we can come out to your building. We can flyer and invite all your neighbors to come and kind of give a crash course on how to set up a tenants association, go over the best practices, the do's and the don'ts, and just guide you through that process. I see a question came in. How can we find out if our complex may already have a tenant association? I would just ask around. There's no like official database in the county database of tenants associations. You could try just asking your neighbors. Usually tenant associations will have some sort of flyers up. You could also possibly maybe ask management if you're new to the building and just ask if they have one. But just ask your neighbors, ask someone in the elevator if they know. Or you can ask us because we tend to know where the associations are. And if you find out you don't have one, please get in touch with us because we'd love to help you set one up. Um, like I said, to just expand on this collective voice, it can sometimes when you have issues, they don't necessarily fall under code enforcement or landlord tenant areas, meaning that it's not a violation enough to write a complaint or get a citation, but you still want something done about it. An example that comes to mind is a building that wants security cameras. This is something we hear all the time these days. Not having security cameras is not a violation of like landlord tenant law. So filing a complaint with landlord tenant, like we talked about earlier, is not really going to be the solution for you. But having a tenants association, having 20 or 30 of your neighbors who are coordinated and informed and educated, who can collectively ask management for security cameras because of these reasons, that can go a long ways. So that's just one example of having that strength versus just you asking alone. It's probably going to be a no. But if you're an established association, you have a president, you have a vice president, you have monthly meetings, and you guys, you can write a letter to management. It just goes a lot further when you have other people standing with you. So please do reach out to us. Our email's in the chat, our phone number's in the chat if you would like to start a tenants association. And the last thing I will mention is the importance of voting, and I'll turn to Pat to talk to us about that. Oh, and I'll just add that I did put in our some residency checks in the chat where if you don't know who your state senator or state delegate is or your county council member, you can check that out. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, it's not a whole lot to say, except for it's important to vote. Everyone needs to vote, particularly for renters. And, it's our only power. I think that councilmen and legislators running for office, they need to know that renters vote. So when it's your time to vote, please come out and vote. Ask all of your family members, friends, everyone to come out and vote. Do your due diligence, as Matt says, and find out who that's running for office is a friend to voters. And it's like Emily said, if you don't know who your council person or legislator is, you can put your address in, and Emily put the email addresses up there, and you can find out who your council person is. But it's very important, and nowadays it's more important than ever to cast your vote when it's your time. So please vote. It's our power.
Thanks, Pat. Let me just throw in something. Also, the Renters Alliance just got a boatload of buttons, and our buttons say, I'm a renter and I vote, right? If you want one and you promise to vote, then please get in touch with us at info@rentersalliance.org and give us your address, and we will send you buttons. So more and more elected officials and people running for office want to take renters seriously.
Yes.
And to know that we care about where they stand on issues important to us. So we need to sometimes just show them. These buttons can be very powerful. So with that, Emily, what else?
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Pat. I saw a question come in the chat, might need some clarification. If you are unemployed right now, can they extend your payment more than 30 days? If you're asking about, I think this came up when I was talking about legal aid, about getting a continuance, feel free to type in the chat if I'm misconstruing your question. That's something you could talk to the lawyer about if you have a special set of circumstances, like you were a federal worker and you got laid off, something that the lawyer can try to help get you a continuance for. If you're talking about just with your property manager, they're not required to give you any kind of extension or forgiveness period because of a job loss, but we always encourage you to communicate with your property manager, let them know if you've been laid off or something like that, and the rent's
Yes.
going to be late. See if you can work, maybe you've lived there for a long time and always had a good rental paying record. Perhaps you can let them know it's going to be a little bit late, or see if you can get on a payment plan, but just know that that's not required on behalf of the landlord. But if you were talking about court, there is some special exceptions going on with some federal layoffs, but I recommend getting in touch with 211 to talk to the lawyer about what your options are legally there.
If
Yeah.
you're being evicted. But let me also throw in something about that. It's very important to know that if something happens to you that's beyond your control, like a loss of a job, being laid off from the federal government, which is unfortunate, happening around here quite a bit, but also a loss of a spouse that is the breadwinner, some other issue that is beyond your control, that you can break a lease with just 30 days notice and not have to pay a penalty. But we urge you not to do so unilaterally. If you want our guidance, then reach out to us. But whatever it is, you got to make sure that it's done in writing and that you have the understanding and agreement with your property manager or landlord. You don't just leave and say, I'm out of here. You have to make sure that everybody understands that it's justified and you've been given authorization to do so. But we're seeing a lot of folks who are finding their income disrupted and not able to pay rent, but believing that they're stuck in a lease that's more than they can afford. So keep that in mind. If you need some guidance, please reach out to us.
And I also just put a link in the chat from the Department of Housing that basically outlines some of those reasons Matt listed about circumstances that are beyond your control, within your control for breaking the lease. Last call for any questions before we wrap things up tonight. Like we said at the top, we will sunny weather pending. We will be doing the downtown Silver Spring Thanksgiving Parade Saturday night, 10
Yay.
a.m. If you live in the area, come out and see us, give us a wave, we'll throw some candy your way. And our next town hall is going to be Wednesday, December 3rd. Do we have a topic yet?
We don't. Topic to be determined.
So tune in next week. And as always, if you want to go back and watch part of Cameron's presentation or something, or you joined late, this will be posted onto YouTube, so you can always watch it back later. Not seeing any final questions. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, listening to us. Thank you to Carmen for being our special guest, and thank you to my fellow staff. And good night. See you
Good
next time.
night.